We are very privileged to start the conference from Australia with Professor Muhammad Aziz Rahman. Professor Muhammad Aziz Rahman is a world-class academic. By the standard of publication, citation, he's in the top 2% cited people across the whole world by Stanford, not only this year, but last year and the year before. By the standard of publications, he's well cited. He has published in all the top journals in public health. But what really interested us more than that, and this is very important, his influential capacity and mind and his inspirational leadership in inspiring academics, researchers, students, and the real diversity you can feel in his words, in his research. All his research is really global. He connects researchers from all over the world to tackle one particular. That's exactly the approach the United Nations wanted. If you want to tackle poverty, you can't just tackle it from an African perspective or a Middle Eastern perspective or an Australian perspective. And you all have seen Spain, which we all, we pray for them. I know we already lost more than 200 people in Spain because of flooding, but more importantly, it is related to climate change. So these issues are affecting everyone. And I wish them, all of them, I hope now everything in Spain is settled down, but this is just a sign of that we are in a global environment. So Professor Aziz Rahman is one of those people, top expert in public health. He tackled many issues, smoking, obesity, but the topic he's going to discuss is extremely important to all of us academics across the world. And we're going to give him the floor now, but I would like also to make a short announcement for the people in the Zoom. It will be publicly sooner in all our social media and all our public domains. We're very privileged and grateful and humbled to see the humbleness of Professor Azim to join the editorial board of the International Journal of Food, Nutrition and Public Health. And this will give a big boost to the journal. And hopefully we will introduce this in a more broader way. We would like him to be involved in leading this journal because it links three areas: public health, nutrition, International Journal of Food, Public Health and Nutrition. So Professor Aziz Rahman is going to talk to us about the stress we suffered or we experienced as an academic across the world during the COVID time, teaching online like this. So without any further ado, Professor, the floor is yours. And please go ahead and start your sharing. And we look forward to listening to you.
Thank you very much, Professor Allam. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. That's really great. I'm really overwhelmed at the kindness of Professor Allam to introduce me. I'm pretty sure that I'm not that great, that Professor Allam has mentioned, but I'm still trying to learn, and I'm trying to really trying to reach and globally through my research wherever I can do this thing. I hope that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, so as Professor Allam has mentioned, what I'd like to share with you is about a particular group of people. I'm pretty sure during the COVID-19 pandemic, you have seen lots of research, those who are in academia and research, you have seen lots of research on mental health issues. And we have looked at, and even I worked on a global study looking at 18 countries, looking at the community people, looking at the healthcare professionals. What is the impact on COVID-19 pandemic, specifically on their mental health? But this research that I'm going to share with you is about us. I'm an academic, I'm a researcher, I work at a university. So when we work at a university, definitely students are the key part of the people that we deal with. There are lots of research that focuses on students, but what about us as an academic, as a teacher? What about our health and well-being? So when I thought of this thing, I thought that, okay, let's look at this in part the details. That is the thing I'm going to share with you today. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, you know, these higher education institutions, they had a huge impact. And this impact was really due to this changing pattern of their teaching, because many of them were not prepared to go online. So that was one of the struggles. Apart from all of this struggle and the fear and the coping they had as a community member. And therefore, they faced dual challenges. They had job insecurity due to this financial crisis, On top, they also have this physical and mental health impact on them during COVID-19 pandemic. Now, this ongoing global crisis in the health education institution definitely has impacted on their psychological well-being, and it is still continuing. I know that pandemic is really, we don't want to even listen to that word pandemic, but that impact still ongoing. There has been lots of job cut. I don't know the situation. I'm pretty sure that is the same around the world. In Australia, many people, many of my colleagues lose their job during this pandemic, and it is really impacting. But those who are continuing, what about them? What about their challenges? Did anyone think of that we need to also look after them? We also need to have that evidence. So thinking of this, we thought that, okay, let's have a look at the gaps in evidence. I was really interested to look at the job insecurity, burnout, psychological distress, and coping among the staff. And when I say staff, I also wanted to look at not only on the academic staff, but the professional staff, the admin staff, who are also doing lots of work for the success of the students. What about them? So I tried to look at the evidence, whether there is any evidence, even if it is not within the pandemic or post-pandemic, is there any evidence looking at this group of people? I was really keen to look at the extent. I was really keen to look at the factors. But there was a positive literature. So I thought that, okay, let's do a study focusing on this. And I also wanted to know about the status of comorbidities, about their risk factors, about the COVID vaccination, long COVID. And as I mentioned, I also wanted to look at on both academic staff and professional staff. So that was really my objective of this study, to look at the extent and the factors associated with job insecurity, burnout, psychological distress, and coping. It was a cross-sectional anonymous online survey. We selected higher education institutions, and definitely we used the snowball sampling using my network. We invited the staff, irrespective of their responsibilities. It could be the leader, it could be junior staff, senior staff, admin staff, academic staff. We invited all of them. And we invited them to fill up the study questionnaire. We distributed the survey link through QR code, through email, and we also distributed this thing locally at the participating institutions, and we displayed this QR code and encouraged staff to participate in that survey. In terms of study tool, we used a structured survey questionnaire. For each of these outcomes, we use standard, validated, and reliable tool, and many of you definitely will be familiar with these tools. We use this tool to estimate the extent and the factors associated with all of these 4 outcomes. Within a short period of time, we got participants from 16 countries. We ended up with over 2,300 people and staff who are working at different universities. We had participants from Asia, Australia, Africa, Latin America, and UK. I just share with you briefly about our study participants. So mean age was 43 years, 61% were females, more than half were academic staff, and most of them were working full-time. Interesting thing is about multiple comorbidities. 1 in 5 staff reported they already have multiple comorbidities, not a single comorbidity, multiple. And 1 in 10 mentioned they already had the pre-diagnosed mental health issues. When you asked about their behavioral factors, we found that 1 in 4 mentioned they are ever smokers, and 1 in 3 mentioned that they drank alcohol more than once in the last week. When you ask the question about their increased alcohol and smoking behavior, 35% mentioned that they have increased their smoking habit, and they have also increased, 15% mentioned they have increased their alcohol intake within the last 4 weeks. 1 in 5 mentioned they did not do any physical activities. We also asked about the experience of the COVID-19. 66% mentioned they are COVID positive at any point in time. 71% mentioned they had triple vaccine. 1 in 3 mentioned they had symptoms of long COVID. Now, if I want to look at the healthcare seeking behavior of this staff, when we are really busy in looking after the student satisfaction, student well-being, and all of this, what about us? One of these things is mental health that I'm going to share in details. But what about the physical health? So 8% mentioned that they never checked their blood pressure. 29% mentioned they never checked or measured their blood lipid profile. 21% mentioned they never checked their blood sugar. And 17% mentioned they never visited for a healthcare provider for any type of screening. Now, if you look at those 4 outcomes, we have found that 15% mentioned that they have job insecurity. Most of them mentioned they did not have job insecurity, so that is really positive. 1 in 3 mentioned they had high burnout. 73% of our staff mentioned they had moderate to very high psychological distress, and 58% mentioned they had medium to high resilient coping. When we looked at different countries who participated, we found the lowest prevalence of job insecurity was in Turkey, 6%, and the highest prevalence of job insecurity, 27% in Australia. When we looked at burnout, Pakistan reported lowest prevalence of burnout, 3%, whereas the highest prevalence was in Australia. When you looked at psychological distress, lowest prevalence was reported from Oman, and the highest prevalence was reported from Turkey, 88%. But even when I say lowest prevalence in Oman, still it is quite high. 61% staff reported they had moderate to very high psychological distress. And in terms of coping, lowest prevalence was in Australia, 40%, and highest prevalence was reported from Mexico. Now, I also tried to look at, okay, what's happening specifically in Australia with a small group of population. When I looked at job insecurity, burnout, moderate to very high psychological distress, and coping, it did not differ that much compared to the global results. I also narrowed it down to my university. I tried to look at, okay, is there any difference? So as a whole, there was not that much difference when we went into further details to look at the local level at the university. Now, if I look a bit more about the factors associated with each of these outcomes, in terms of job insecurity, I'm trying to present this thing in a very simple manner, not going through the statistical jargons. The levels of job insecurity was double among the staff who are working part-time, who are working in research, those who reported multiple comorbidities, and those who reported mental health issues. Also, levels of insecurity was doubled among the people who reported moderate to very high psychological distress and who reported burnout. And these levels of insecurity was triple among the people who had both roles. Who, in Australia, we say they had this academic role when they need to do teaching and research. When we looked at burnout, levels of burnout was double among female, among the leadership people, those who had any comorbidities, and those who had job insecurity. These burnout levels was triple among the people who had moderate to very high psychological distress. So think of the situation of the staff who already had the psychological distress. On top, they also have the burnout. So think about their situation on the both physical and mental health. However, when we looked at this, levels of burnout were 63% less among the staff who perceived their own mental health as good to excellent. So that also indicates that it's important whether the university setting, whether the work setting is providing enough support so people are feeling resilient and they perceive their own mental health as good to excellent. When we looked at the psychological distress, levels of distress was double among the people who had the admin role, those who had comorbidities, people who were smokers, those who had job insecurity. And these levels of distress was triple among the people who reported burnout and who had existing mental health issues. Finally, if we look at coping, the levels of coping was double among the senior lecturer and the professor with this title. I don't know really what is the reason for this thing. Those who were smoking, those who were drinking alcohol, their coping was also double, and this coping was triple among the people who perceive their own mental health good to excellent. But levels of coping was 25% less among the people who had admin role and who had leadership role, those who had comorbidities. The main challenge of this coping was among the people who already had the mental health issues and those who had reported moderate to very high level of psychological distress. The levels of coping was 54% less. I want to conclude. So it's a small snapshot that I shared with you. So we looked at job insecurity, burnout, psychological distress, and coping among the staff, all university academic staff and the professional staff, and the high group of population. So it's important to address those factors. And then it's important to look at the support strategies, the policies, and the well-being support strategies for the staff who are working at the university settings. Many times, as I mentioned, we focus as an academy, we focus on the well-being, we focus on the satisfaction of the students. We have to look at the investigation of any issue related to students, but what about us? So it's important that staff also get the support from the university setting. And this is probably the first study that looked comprehensively about all of this outcome that I shared with you. And we are really happy that we got this global study published a couple of months ago. I'm happy to share the link in the chat box if you want to have a look at the details of the results. We also published a couple of newsletter articles. It was published in the Times Higher Education, and it was also published at WASD. I'll share both links in the chat box. If you want to have a look, please feel free to have a look. And I would like to acknowledge all the participating organizations who participated in this study and who volunteered their time and provided the evidence. And the next step will be really to look after the staff, investigate what's happening with this, what about the health promotion activities and strategies that are in the place, and where is the scope of improvement to support health and well-being of the university staff. With this, I'd like to thank, feel free to connect with me, scan this thing, connect with me in LinkedIn, feel free to reach out to me at any point in time for any issue that I can collaborate. If there's any question, I'll be very happy to respond to your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Aziz. This is fantastic. Because of the time, we're going to move, of course, either with the nature of this conference is to really get the grasp of the latest development in research and teaching for sustainable. I have one question for you. Now, you are an experienced academic. You've been teaching, you've been leading, you are advisor for the Vice Chancellor, the Rector. What you are expecting in the next, I don't know, 2025, 2026, do you expect academics to go back to normal? Do you expect universities to become normal? Because we're still not normal. Even here in London, we still teach online despite everything. And if that will be the case, what will be the health and well-being of the academic staff?
Allam, so I can just mention about the situation in Australia. So it is a similar thing about the online. So I will say it is really positive thing. Many of these things is possible online. So people are thinking, okay, if we can do this thing online, why not? So that is definitely a positive sign. But the challenge is, specifically in Australia, what we are facing is about the visa issue, about the migration, and the international students are not have not come up to that stage where it was in the pre-COVID. And this impact is really long-lasting. And this immigration and the visa issue is impacting heavily on this. They have changed the age limit, they have changed the policy. So that is really impacting on the student number. And when the student number is less, the university to sustain their university status, the only easy way probably to cut from the top, from the leadership, and also going to the ground level to cut the job of the lecturers. So they are going to be impacted. And this situation has not been normalized yet. So I think it will take some time to recover this, that I can assure you, and definitely it will impact. So within this situation, what is the thing? Because university already had some of the health and well-being program. When I investigated, okay, what's happening at my university? And this evidence, we already know. So whether that is possible to improve within this limited thing. So that is probably the only thing that we need to think of within all the negatives, what is possible to improve? If it is possible to add something, say, for example, a self-reminder to their staff, look, you should go and check this. Seek help, there are help available. So this type of form will probably help the staff to control their health and well-being.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you very much for this wonderful talk. Very nice opening to this global conference. We will move now from Australia to, by the way, Australia is very far. When we travel from London, we had to go 7 hours to Dubai, another 7 hours to Singapore, and then another 6 hours to cross finally to Australia. It's a very long way. So we started from a very long way. Thank you very much, Professor. Now we're going to go not far from, not very far, but we have to go to stop in Japan. Now, this, we're very pleased to have Dr. Chimi Kurakawa from Japan. She's going to present to us a really timing research outcome, And I will repeat this for 3 times because this is a Japanese research by a Japanese researcher conducted on and in Sudan. So this is really timely research and it's fantastic topic. We're all looking forward to it because this is what we have been doing since 2009, our International Diaspora Project. This particular research is going to look to a fantastic, important topic, which is interesting. I can read you the title. The title is really exciting. What is the title saying? From brain drain to brain gain. Highly skilled Sudanese migrants, motivations to contribute to their homeland. Sudan is a country at war now. And Sudan main resources is really these migrants who left the country. They are scattered all over the world, from Australia, New Zealand, America, and so on. What Dr. Chimi has done in her research, actually it's a PhD research, is to look at the brain drain, those who left the country, and there's many countries. I remember a long time, I don't know the statistic now, a very old study about Bangladesh that around 83% or something from the GDP of the country is actually from the remittance by those from outside the Bangladeshi who are working and living abroad. So it's quite significant, the diaspora or the migrants. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Chimi Kurokawa from Sophia University in Japan. Chimi is the Japan Society for the Promotion of Sciences, doctoral research fellow at Sophia University in Japan. She earned her master's degree and PhD in education from Hiroshima University in Japan. Her professional experience includes working for a Japanese private company from 2013 to 16 and serving as the political and economic attaché at the Embassy of Japan in Sudan 2017 to 2019. Her current research project focuses on skilled Sudanese migrants and refugees' drive to contribute to Sudan development, school choice among Muslims migrants in the US, and challenges Muslims migrants face regarding the school lunch in Japan. So, Dr. Chimo, we are very delighted to have you, and thank you for being still waiting for us in this. I don't know what time now in Japan, but the floor is yours. You have the host. You can go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Professor Allam. So let me share my PowerPoint. Okay, can you see it?
Yes, absolutely perfect. If just there is something on the top and on the right, I don't know what is it.
Okay. No, sometimes it comes, so.
Maybe reshare, maybe, yeah.
Okay, so.
There's just a small one on the top. Can you clear that as well on the top? I don't know what's going on there.
I'm sorry, I don't know why.
No, don't worry.
I think now it goes, right?
There's something in the middle now.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, keep it that way. Continue. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you very much again for having me here. It's very honored to present my study here. As Professor Allam said, this is part of my PhD dissertation. Yeah, so let me skip my introduce because already Professor Allam talked about the title and also yeah, my title. So speaking about SDGs, so today's forum's topic about sustainability. So my primary interest lies in SDG 4, since my background is in the
الدراسة
field.
اللي بيشرحوا فيها دي مهمة جدا.
And actually, the findings I will present today may not directly align with a single SDG target. However, I believe that exploring the motivations of highly skilled migrants to return and contribute to their home country can provide valuable insights into sustainable development debate. And this focus, I believe this focus helps us understand how educational opportunities and acquired skills can play a crucial role in supporting sustainable development in their home countries. So firstly, let me clarify two key terms, brain drain and brain gain. So brain drain refers to the immigration of highly skilled individuals from developing countries to wealthier countries. On the other hand, about the brain gain. So actually, this term has various definitions depending on the scholar, but this study applies Hanger 2002 and the other scholars' definition. It's about these individuals returning home and potentially contributing their skills and knowledge to benefit their home countries. About the literature review. So the literature suggests that an intention to contribute to one's home country is a major motivation of return. And this drive is closely linked to a sense of the belonging. And studies also reveal that the timing of this influence varies. It can come from early social engagement before migration or from the conditions in host countries. However, the previous studies have not fully explored individual motivations shaped by personal experiences and the social and cultural context of the home country. So therefore, to address this gap, I have set this research question. What are the driving forces behind the highly skilled Sudanese migrants and refugees returning and contributing to their home country, with a particular focus on the home ground context? And focusing on the case of Sudan, one of the low-income countries in Africa, the objective of this study is to identify factors that encourage brain gain in low-income nations and explore how empowering these individuals can support sustainable development in Sudan. Okay. So this is my conceptual framework. So this framework focuses on two main aspects: people's mobility and the drive to contribute. So I classified the brain drain phenomena into three groups. The first is plan to return home group. The second is willing to go to abroad group. And the third, contributing from abroad group. And the key difference between these groups lies in their intentions to return and contribute. This both plan to return home group and contributing from abroad group aim to give back to their home country. However, only the plan to return home group, they have a clear intention to return. And earlier, the Professor Allam talked about the remittances from Bangladesh. It's helps to the development of the country. So following this conceptual framework, remittances is located in this group, contributing from abroad group. And this study focused is on that group, the Plan to Return Home group, since they best represents the phenomenon of brain gain. And then about the context of Sudan. So this country faces significant challenges with political and economic instability, being primary push factors driving immigration. And this has led to a critical loss of human capital, and scholars and the international organization have pointed out this issue. For example, the UNDP survey reported that 88% of Sudanese migrants hold more than a bachelor's degree. We should interpret this with caution because this survey only covered certain migration destinations. However, it still indicates a high number of educated people left from Sudan. And the conflict in April 2023 has worsened this situation. But since my data was collected before this conflict, I will focus on the context before the war, and considering this influence will be an important part of my future research. So method and analysis. So for data collection, I conducted semi-structured interviews with highly skilled Sudanese migrants and refugees in Egypt and Japan, including some who had already returned Sudan from these two destinations. Data was collected from November 2019 to September 2022. During the COVID, all interviews were conducted through online. But later, I visited Cairo and Khartoum to conduct the interviews. And total participants were 81. And here is the breakdown of informants by group. After classifying them into 3 groups using my conceptual framework, I focused on 36 participants. In the Plan to Return group, here I wrote P group and applied one of the qualitative analysis methods, thematic analysis, to identify their motivations. And I identified these 5 themes: social framework of mutual help, takaful, role-driven contributions, sense of belonging, betterment motive, others' impact. Due to time constraints, I will focus on 2 key findings of this today's presentation. So one is takaful. This is an Arabic term for the practice of social solidarity and mutuality among members of society. Sudanese researcher described this term as an Islamic framework for social justice and solidarity. And I found that this idea of mutual help is deeply embedded in Sudanese culture as participants. So this is one of the Sudanese culture. And then also my findings suggest that the Sudanese community have developed this system of mutual support that is fostered by growing up and learning in their society. Another theme is role-driven contributions. This theme comes from the role theory from the sociological term. It explains the influence that roles or positions within a group have influenced on individual behavior. The finding indicated the experience of studying abroad enhances this sense of duty, reinforcing their commitment to support their community and the development of Sudan with their experience and skills. Here is a conclusion and discussion. Previous studies demonstrated macro-level factors like economic development and incentive programs for returnees are critical to brain gain. However, this study emphasizes the role of individual agency, cultural values, and the social framework like Takaful in motivating Sudanese migrants to contribute to their home country. And the concept of Takaful can foster a group-sustaining form of brain gain from Sudan. I believe that examining this social framework more can provide more insights into types of learning needed to build a sustainable and mutual supportive society. And the last limitation of this study is its focus on the people, because I focus only Egypt and Japan. And maybe this may limit generalizability. And also Japan is not famous destination for Sudanese people, and the meaning of return seems different between Sudanese in Egypt and Japan. However, by exploring different host countries, we gained insight that their drive to return and contribute is deeply related to the home country's context. Additionally, the current conflict situation in Sudan has changed a lot. And now I'm working on correcting the data from Sudanese university students who fled to Cairo after the war. So I look forward to presenting these findings as well in near future. These are references, and thank you very much. And I wrote my email address, so I really welcome for your comments and question. Again, thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chimi Kurokawa. This is fantastic research, and in a way, it is also painful. This last picture at the end of your presentation on a country at war now. But that leads me to the question. From your last statement in your conclusion, you said, I'm going to look into the future. The problem of the current, and I'm going to ask you about the future, because as I said to you in London, when you visited us in the office, we will be very happy to cooperate with you in a much bigger research. Our office is open for you, and we will look forward to strengthen this relationship. We can have a much bigger database now. But the issue now, current Sudanese professionals, or those you call them brain drains, those who are naturally drain the country's knowledge or brain by just leaving the country in the past. Now they have forced to leave. We got around 4,000 or 5,000 officially, maybe in Uganda. We got around 10,000 or 15,000 officially in Egypt. We have in Ethiopia, Chad, and then they have many in Saudi Arabia now, in UAE, and you know all that. What is likely? Let's assume the war is stopped tomorrow and there is peace in Sudan. Let's have that hypothesis, because you are a researcher. Tomorrow we wake up in the morning, there's no gun, there's peace, and there is Sudan is peaceful country, there's no war. What do you expect to that formula and the econometrics you have done, or the statistic you have done, they will look like? How much do you expect them to return back home? That's a critical question. And what do you expect? Those might have started to look for a new life now. So I know it's a very difficult question. Even myself, I can't answer it, but I will give you the chance to tell us, what do you think? Tomorrow we have peace. There's no war in Sudan. Those thousands now, and I'm going to bring you one live from Uganda, one of the refugees campus. There's a lot of Sudanese academics on refugees campus now. But anyway, what do you think will happen?
Thank you very much for this really difficult question. So I agree with that. This is really difficult to answer. And also I cannot be optimistic about this question because it's a very serious matter. And after the war happened, I talked again with the informants who I conducted the interview before the war. And then the some people who categorize the P group, the plan to return home group, now they are thinking about like staying, like whether Japan or other Gulf countries to start their new life after getting their master and the PhD degree in Japan. So, and then we talked about it, and then if the war stopped tomorrow, but still the situation is like just stopping the war does not make how to say, just stopping the war does not give a good reason to return for them. So with the current situation, so I cannot say anything very clearly, but yeah, so, but important things is we have to understand just peace agreement doesn't make people go back to the country. So yeah, so I know this is not your clear answer, but I stop here. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much, Dr. Jimmy. I understand even it's difficult for even in those who are in refugees camp now, but I know we will follow up this with you. If you can take this one as a serious elements of the future, you're a postdoctoral researcher now, and you're going to follow on this, to take this quite, and we would be very happy to contribute. We will give you access to all our diaspora. We don't, as I said earlier, in this type of conference, we don't take questions because of the time. We need to travel to America now. But there is a really opportunity we have to give to one of those academics who is going to join us from refugee camps. He's a lecturer at the university, associate professor. Dr. Isa Al-Ghali in one of your refugees camps in Uganda. And I have been in Uganda last 2 weeks. I'm very grateful for what the Ugandans have done. I have seen the generosity, and we have one of the deputy dean of Kampala International University here. I mean, we said this in Kampala, but let's say it again. The Ugandans have done fantastic. Even the Sudanese people I met there at the university or the other us, they said they don't feel they are in a second or their second home. They are in their home. So anyway, let's see if we can get him to join. I mean, internet is very difficult. Dr. Isa Al-Ghali, can you speak? Even in Arabic, we can translate if you like, but can you actually, your internet will allow you to speak?
Assalamu alaikum, ya bro.
Excellent. Alaikum assalam. Can you come on camera?
Yes.
Okay, come on camera.
But when I am the camera, because the net is so poor.
خليها forget يا دكتور. Just go ahead, ask your question. Introduce yourself and ask your question.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أنا دكتور عيسى الغالي، أستاذ مساعد في الخدمة الاجتماعية في عدد من الجامعات السودانية، الخرطوم، السودان، النيلين، الأهلية. هذه الجامعات أنا أستاذ رائد في الريادة تحت العمل الاجتماعي. الآن لاجئ في دولة يوغندا في معسكر كريان دونغو، مقاطعة ماسيندي بيالي.
فالسؤال شنو يا دكتور؟ سريع تفضل.
انا بسال انه هل الاستاذ الجامعي عارفين انه للاستاذ الجامعي ادوار ثلاثيه، الدور المجتمعي والدور البحث العلمي وكذلك التدريس، سيما في الحالات الطبيعيه، بينما الان الاستاذ الجامعي يعيش ماساه ومآلات كبيره جدا جدا في كل اطره ومعطياتها. سؤالي مباشر لسعاده البروفيسور، انه هل بالامكان انه نحن كباحثين وكاكاديميين ومهنيين مختصين وشايفين المعاناه امامنا، ما هو الدور المنقوم به وما هي الاشكال بتاعت الدعم والمساعده وبما في ذلك الحمايه العلميه لدى الاكاديميين والاساتذه الجامعيين في معسكرات اللجوء.
الحمايه العلميه كم ممكن تبسط تشرحها شويه؟ الحمايه العلميه عشان اترجم لها كلير.
الحمايه العلميه المعني بها انه هل نحن لدينا اسهامات كبيره جدا ولدينا عقول واعيه ولدينا كذلك تخصصات نادره، الا انها في هذه الظروف الحالكه قد يفقد هذا الاستاذ الجامعي في اضيق الظروف وفي ابسط الظروف، سيما ان الحمايه العلميه معني بها هو تكامليه الدور لدى الإنسان عقليا وذهنيا واجتماعيا ونفسيا، إلا أننا نفقد هذه المعطيات الرباعية التي تشكل الشخصية الإنسانية. دعك عن تكوين الشخصية المهنية العلمية.
تمام. شكرا جزيلا يا دكتور عيسى، ونتمنى ربنا يحفظك وكل السودانيين اللي معاك هناك. Thank you very much دكتور جيمي. Dr. Isa Al-Ghali is an assistant professor from, he teach in several Sudanese universities. He's a sociologist or social science academics. His question, he said, if you agree and appreciate the three dimensions, he mentioned them, that we all academic, you and ourselves, Professor Aziz, all those academics, teaching, research, and community impact and engagement. And communities become very important, as you agree, number one now. He said to you, number one, how can we, with people like him now, he's calling you from a refugee camp. He's struggling now for basic living, if you like, fundamentals of life now for him, he's struggling with them. How can we protect him from two sides? One, the knowledge he got, the intellectual capital he got as an academic, and there's other thousands with him. How do you, because you talk about brain drain, now we got the intellectual capital. I mean, at the back is part of my intellectual capital, and I got my brain. Imagine this one will be lost definitely during this war. But even the one I have in mind, I need a computer, I need to have them. So he said, how can we protect this? And maybe this can also be considered into your brain drain, if you like, formula for further research. And secondly, he said about how can he, even now, he tried to do something during the time he is on camp. These three things, teaching, research, and impact, how can he still keep that vision of his role in life to do teaching, research, and research, and impact on the community? I know it's a very difficult question, but maybe whatever you can shed here will be nice.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Isa Al-Ghali. So the first, let me answer the second question firstly. So now I told you that I started to correct the voices from the Sudanese university students in Cairo. So they are really struggling to continue their higher education because the Egyptian government decided to increase their tuition fee. Before the war, due to some two countries' agreements, the Sudanese university students could enjoy a lower tuition fee to study in Egypt, but now it's exempted. So they are really struggling to continue the higher education. And also the last year when I visited, the Sudanese government decided to not to continue online university studies. I think it's this announcement exempted, I think, but at that time so they cannot continue their study even online. So I thought really at that situation that they really need someone who can teach them, and also some program or project to to give the degrees to them, the kind of the special treatment they needed. So yeah, I'm not sure that I can answer his question, but collaboration between teachers and the students beyond the borders among the Sudanese community internationally, I think this is really important things based on what I saw in Cairo. And I'm sorry, I don't get the first question. Can you briefly?
In terms of his intellectual capital and academics, if you like, intellectual properties, their material, their courses, their knowledge, and all that stuff, can you maybe think how we protect that? I mean, maybe they lost it already, their material, their courses, everything. Maybe this can be taken into account maybe for your future research, and maybe we can try to see. I hope by that time you start your postdoctoral research on this, those people are actually returned back home. So you may be asking for experience. But sorry for this, not only difficult question, but they are questions that we can't find an answer for them. So Dr. Jimmy, we really appreciate. Thank you very much, and wish you all the best. There's a comment here, by the way, from the Deputy Vice Chancellor from Uganda International University. He said, Dr. Willie, he said, the problem of brain drain was initially educated young people going for greener pasture. Currently, we see the uneducated young people going especially to the Middle East. Very interesting comment. And Professor Willie, since you commented, we know your university is very generous. You have helped the Sudanese there. And I'm sure we will follow up that discussion about how can you open your doors more wide again to the Sudanese like Professor Al-Ghali. But thank you very much, Dr. Chimi. We really appreciate it. We will see you in London again, okay? We don't want to see you online.
Yes,
Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now, we need to travel to the United States of America. We're going to Washington. Again, fantastic, fantastic title waiting for us by a fantastic young academic scholar practitioner. We met her in July at the United Nations in Geneva. She was working with the Italian mission to United Nations. Her background really quite exciting. She's Italian. She went to Latin America. She's an American now. But before we introduce her, the title is really the core of what the United Nations is wanting to do. The duty of Generation Z to protect the planet. Really strong title. The principles of intergeneration equity. Now, there's one point here I want to make before I give her the floor. When the United Nations declared, or the United Nations Sustainable Development, the Brundtland Report 1987, they said we have to reserve and protect this planet for future generations. And we all started talking about this campaign until 2000, and then the Millennium Development Goals, then the Sustainable Development Goals. But recently, myself as an academic and all the academics and everywhere, we say to people, academics, we need to educate our young generations. It is their duty to also protect the planet. In the past, we say, Allam, you need to protect the planet for your young generations. Your daughter, they should have a nice, clean planet. But now, and I'm really pleased, this is the first time I'm going to listen. I'm looking forward to see this presented in a formal presentation, and again by a young woman or a young girl actively involved in this international relation about the duty of those young generation. Why it is a duty, I will not talk, I will let her talk. Now let me introduce her very quickly. Fiola is joining us from Washington Inter-American Institute on Justice and Sustainability. You are very lucky, by the way, Fiola, to have that opportunity to go to an institute like this. And I recently discovered last 2 weeks, one of our graduates from Sussex University is working in that institute. We'll introduce you to her. Now, Fiola is an Italian law student at Luis Guido Galli University in Rome, holding an LLM in International Human Rights and Humanitarian Law from American University, Washington, College of Law in Washington, D.C. She was awarded a full scholarship by her Italian university to complete her final year in the United States, earning a double degree. Fiola has a broad range of international experience. In Barcelona, she participated in a volunteer program supporting migrants. She gained research and training experience at the European Court of Human Rights in Strasbourg, the African Court on Human and People's Rights in Arusha, and the Inter-American Court of Human Rights in St. Jose. Additionally, she has studied in Copenhagen. So Fiola, I think the list will go on and on, but you are a true international young woman. You've been everywhere. You know Africa, you know Latin America, you know Europe. So the floor is yours. And I think, let me just make sure I have allowed you to share. And I think I should stop and let people enjoy what you're going to tell them. So go ahead.
Thank you so much, Professor Allam, for this amazing introduction. I will try to share my screen now. Let me know if you see that.
Yes, just make them bigger and go.
Perfect. Okay, so firstly, thank you so much, Professor, for this amazing introduction and for inviting me to participate to this great opportunity, to this international online conference. It's the first time that I participate as a speaker, so I'm quite excited to be here and to present to you one of my last researches that I have done from my Italian university. Actually, I will present this to my Italian university in 3 weeks, in November, and I'm more than happy to share with you as well. The topic is the duty, as you said perfectly, the duty of Generation Z to protect the planet, the principle of intergenerational equity. I will try to speak for 15 minutes, more or less, and then we will have the last 5 minutes, as before, to share comments, answer your questions if you need, and if you want to talk a little bit about this interesting topic. So let's start. So basically, when I first started to do this presentation, this research, my first question was, what is the principle of international equity, of course? What is it about? So now we can say that it's a legal principle. And the legal meaning is that the principle of intergenerational equity is the duty to deliver the planet to future generations in no worse condition than that inherited by present generations. In other words, this means that me, for example, I have to conserve the planet. My generation has the duty to conserve the planet, to conserve the resources, to protect the biodiversity that we have on the planet, so we can share the planet with the future generations exactly as we receive it, or better, hopefully. But then from my research, I have seen this conflict, I would say, between judges and legislators. What does it mean? It means that the principle of intergenerational equity is first mostly from judges, because it's emerging thanks to case laws more than legislators. And I tried to give me answers of this problem, because maybe legislators, I mean, like parliaments in general, national parliaments, are in trouble to make laws on behalf and for the future of the generations, of the youth generations. Because, for example, let's imagine if we make a law, for example, that says that tomorrow we cannot go to work with our car, but we can use just our bicycles. That can maybe create an inconvenience, and so that's why legislators could maybe lose some of their electors. That's why for judges it's in a way more simple. It's simpler to enforce this important principle of intergenerational equity. Next one. And I ask myself, why is it so easy for them, or it's easier than legislators to force this principle of intergenerational equity? It's thanks to the right to health environment, which is now one of the best, one of the most important human rights that we have right now. Of course, it's not a right for the first generation, because it's quite recent. But now we can say that it's quite protected in many parts of the world. So that means that there are many constitutions of the world, from I've seen it from Europe, in Africa as well. There are some countries in Latin America as well that protect this important right, the right to health environment. And through this, they can respect and enforce the principle of intergenerational equity. Then I have tried to see how the right to health environment is respected in the three systems that protects human rights. And they do it in a different way. As Professor said, I have done a little bit of research in all of three. So I was in Arusha in 2022, I was in Strasbourg in 2023, and just 3 months ago, I was in Costa Rica to do my research at the Corte Interamericana de Derechos Humanos. So I was able to see all the three systems. And my question was how the judges of the three courts, so the African Non-Human and People Rights Court, as well as the European Court of Human Rights, as well as the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, enforce this important principle. What I have seen is that in the African system, for example, the right to a health environment is specified in Article 24 of the African Charter on Human and People Rights. So you have explicitly this right in the Charter. But at the same time, similarly, we have the Inter-American system with the similar situation, because the same right has been interpreted by Article 26 of the American Convention on Human Rights, and then it was later explicitly included in the San Salvador Protocol. So we have two different systems with the same situation. The right to health environment is present in both of these systems. However, what is really interesting is that the European system doesn't have this principle in the European Convention on Human Rights. Because as you see from the slide, the European Convention on Human Rights does not have any dedicated to the right to health environment. But still, we have seen that the judges are still able to guarantee this right through the case laws, through the other rights already present in the convention. For example, there is an important sentence from April 2024 from the judges of the European Court of Human Rights against the government of Switzerland, where they said that firstly, they enforced the principle of intergenerational equity, and they said future generations are important. The Generation Z has the duty to protect the planet, and this is thanks to the right to health environment, which is not included explicitly in the European Convention of Human Rights, but still there are other important rights in the European Convention that we can interpret in a broadly way. And for example, they are Article 7 of the European Convention of Human Rights, which is the right to life. You cannot live in a good environment, in an environment, in a healthy environment. You cannot live in a way your life. And also, thanks to Article 8 of the European Convention of Human Rights, which is the right to respect for private and family life. So basically, thanks to this article explicitly present in the European Convention, there is also an interpretation of the right to health environment. So which are the consequences? Basically, at the legal level, we see that the right to health environment is increasingly guaranteed, and is the legal basis under which young people must live sustainably, taking care of the quality of life of future generations. This is the first consequence. If you want to be more active, we can say three things: that the generations that has the duty to protect the planet, that secondly, states must create more sustainable laws, and that thirdly, the international community must act as a whole. So, for example, they have to take important decisions how to get, of course, the UN Agenda 2030 goals, the sustainable goals that you all know. So then I more focus about the examples of possible violations of the principle, both at the high level and both at the low level. And the first one that I had in mind was, for example, when states do not make choices regarding dangerous concrete situations that will occur in the future to the disadvantage of future generations. What does it mean? Basically, just to have an example for you, I have talked about the problem of the rising sea levels, which is a consequence of climate change that will cause the extinction of some island states in the future. The science is pretty clear right now. They will be, for example, I put here a map, so you can see, for example, some of those countries which have this problem, basically Micronesia, Kiribati, Vanuatu. These are states who are in trouble for climate change because they will be submerged from sea level rise. So the states, the international community as a whole, has the duty to protect the planet, has a duty to give answers to how to respond to this important problem. For example, the International Law Commission of the United Nations is doing a wonderful work on this topic, but still states do not take, still they don't have a clear response for this. The second one is, for example, when states during an armed conflict do not consider environmental damages causing countless emissions. And also today is the International Day for Preventing the Exploitation of the Environment in War and Agriculture, because today is the day, 6th of November, we have this day from 2001. It was decided by the General Assembly of the United Nations, but still we have a lot of these problems. I mean, if we think just about some of unfortunately the conflicts that our world is facing, for example, the conflict between Palestine and Israel, or the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, we see a lot of emissions that are causing damage to the environment. And still states do not take appropriate measures to take all this problem. And then, of course, which are the possible violations of the principle at the law level. It's easy. I think that's most important. Easy for us. The possible violation of the principle is us. We can create a violation if we don't respect the planet with our action. So I'm speaking about me. I'm speaking about all the people present in this conference. I'm speaking about the Z generations and the young people. If they do not guarantee the rights of future generations to live in a healthy and clean environment with their actions, they can breach the principle of intergenerational equity. And they are not, of course, protecting the planet. So this is quite easy to remember, but of course, through the life of all days, if we waste water, if we don't use our energy in a correct way, if we don't recycle, if we don't live in a climate-friendly mood, we can breach this principle of intergenerational equity. So this is really interesting, I think, because it's something that we are building. I mean, not me, but more the judges in different courts. As I said, I recall the sentence from April 2024 from the European Court of Human Rights, which was really important, but there are so many that protect this principle, especially in Latin America, when we have the indigenous rights, and they have the right to live in the future in a health planet, in a health and clean environment. So that's why the principle of intergenerational equity is really important. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, any comments, of course, I'm here to hear from you, and I hope that you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Viola. Of course, we did enjoy it very much. And I think the question, which is a pressing question, and you're the best person to actually answer it. You have the experience with young generations in 3 continents or 3 settings: Africa, Europe, and even Latin America. You're in the US now. Do you, what can you say about the young generation? Do they really appreciate and understand the duty they have to do in order to protect the planet? Do you find them really understanding and appreciating and acting to protect this environment for their future?
Thank you so much, Professor, for this question. Actually, what I've seen, I've seen both. I mean, I see some people, some young generations that are really, they pay attention to this problem, and I'm seeing that we are doing some steps forward to solve the problems. For example, if you think also about some environmental programs that younger generations is taking place. For example, in Italy, we have this important movement of young people who, for example, go to the street, block the street for environmental purposes. And they are actually they are not really, I mean, the government doesn't appreciate their actions. So we have also this problem. So there is some actions, but at the same time, there is not. I mean, I think that one of the most important things is the education. We have to educate as a society the young generations from the beginning, from when they are at school, for example, from the elementary school, to be clear, to make it clear that this is a problem for everyone. And if we don't solve the problem today, we will have a problem tomorrow, and especially our children will have some problems tomorrow. What I've seen also is the problem that states still are facing problems to resolve this problem, more than young generations that think quite well about this.
Thank you very much, Viola. And I don't know, it's quite early in Washington now, but thank you very much for waking up early for us. And we hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Possibly in Morocco. You know, this year we're going to Morocco 2025. Maybe this to also to invite you all to our 23rd International Conference, will take place in Morocco between 10 to 12 April. Thank you very much. Wonderful. And it's really, we look forward to, and also I encourage you to, hopefully you submit one of the articles to the new journal we're going to launch, which is called World Journal of Youth and Sustainable Development. Thank you very much, Viola. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you very much. Now we're going to travel back to India. We're going from a young generations. I'm not going to say to an old generation, but to a very experienced generation. one of the well-established, well-experienced, highly educated, top expert, top academics worldwide from India. We're going to India now. I'm going to introduce the speaker shortly, but he's going to talk to us about sustainable development goals and Indian perspective. And the good thing is our speaker for this, Professor, I'm going to give you to make you co-host. And then I will introduce you while you prepare your slide. Now, Professor, the topic is sustainable development goals with reference to India. Professor Ram Mishra from Institute of Public Enterprise in India. And few words, there's a lot of words. I mean, anyone visiting us in the office, he kindly signed, we have a signed copy from him in the office if you want to see his signature, and fantastic books he always did. The professor is a former director of the Institute of Public Enterprise. He has done a lot of work and expertise, or he has a lot of expertise on corporate governance. He is the President, Management and Social Science Research Center, Hyderabad, India. He has taught at the University of Bradford, the United Kingdom, and has been a visiting professor at Maison des Sciences des Hommes, I hope I pronounce it well, in Paris, and the United Nations International Center for Public Promotional Enterprises, Slovenia. Again, a lot of experience, United Kingdom, Slovenia, of course, India. His research interests include corporate governance, corporate social responsibility, and sustainable management. Very interesting. Now, he also got another dimension of his work, which is very important to mention. He is a special invitee to the OECD working group in privatization and corporate governance of SOEs and Asian Network of Corporate Government. He has been a non-executive director on a few of the public and private enterprise boards in India. He's an invitee to the G20 meetings and a participant in RIS, the Ministry of External Affairs, and GOL events. Thank you. Wonderful experience to hear. Now, Professor, the floor is yours, and you can start sharing your slides.
Thank you, Professor Ahmed. I'm very grateful to WASD for giving this opportunity. And let me tell to all the viewers that I have had a great opportunity of visiting the center, which is headed by Professor Allam Ahmed. The center has been doing exceedingly well, and I think it is the center of its own kind in the world. I must congratulate him on taking, this movement of SDGs forward. This is something I think, which all of us should thank Professor Ahmed for that. About me, I'll say that we take a lot of interest in research on sustainable development. In fact, India has the philosophy which comes in its Vedas that everybody should be happy, everybody should be healthy, everybody should be peaceful. Sarve bhavanti sukhnaha, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyanti ma kashid dukbhag bhavet. India believes in one world, and therefore I think this movement which Professor Ahmed has started, with UN has started, is very, very crucial. I have some personal experience of that. I was involved in MDGs, which we did with Kofi Annan, and then certainly we are also involved in the implementation of SDGs in India. And I'm very happy to tell that Times of India Higher Education Directory has just been released last week, and they put the Indian universities at the top in the implementation of the sustainable development goals. So all of us know that we started with Millennium Development Goals, and there we had only 8 goals: eradication of poverty, achievement of universal primary education, gender equality, then reducing child mortality, then improving maternal health, combating HIV and AIDS, ensure environmental sustainability, global partnership for development. Now these became 17. When it comes to SDG, I had the opportunity to go to New York also and discuss this in their office. Now it has become, we now have 17 goals. And we see that these 17 goals are, I've just put in the slide. Can we go to the next slide? And we see that we can divide this 17 goals into 5 parts. There are goals which are related to universal goals, we can call them. They belong to people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. Sustainable development goals relate to people, prosperity, peace, planet, and partnership. Then we have the people-related goals. They relate to no poverty, zero hunger, good health, quality education, gender, clean water, and affordable and clean energy. Then we have 5 prosperity goals that people should also be prosperous, and they lead to good jobs, industry innovation, reduce inequality, sustainable cities, and responsible consumption. Now, we have planet goals, which are very important. We have just discussed, I think, in the previous presentation. We have climate action, life below water, life on land, and only yesterday,
Professor, can you hear us? I think we lost Professor Mishra. Professor, can you hear us? I think we will, he looks like, I think power went off or something. So I think we will bring him back. I will try to connect with him and find out what happened, and we bring him back. But I think to save the time, because we got a long list of speakers, we can, I think we should, I can see him coming back quickly. So we can go now to, I don't know, Muhammad al-Bashir, are you ready? Muhammad al-Bashir, just can you raise your hand if you are available or ready, Muhammad? Are you ready to speak, Muhammad? Let me make you co-host. Can you unmute?
نعم. السلام عليكم Professor
Alaikum
Allam.
assalam. Are you ready, Muhammad, to speak?
Yes, I'm ready.
Excellent. So then let me introduce you. Excellent. Now, this is another fantastic presentation, new subject. Yes, it's not completely new, but we would be very interesting to listen to quantification of carbon emissions in healthcare in England, a study of 2 NHS, National Health Services in hospital. Muhammad, just let me ask Professor, sorry, just one second. Professor Mishra, are you, okay, just one second. Are you able to continue, Professor? Can you unmute? Can you unmute, Professor?
Sir. Sorry, I think we had the power just trip. So, we have
Professor, sorry to interrupt you. Can you, because you disconnect and come with another account. Can you share your screen? Share your screen again if you don't mind.
Are you able to hear me now?
We can hear you, we can see you. Just share your screen if you can. Can you share it?
Okay. Share the screen.
Don't worry, take your time, no problem. Muhammad will come back to you after Professor Mishra.
Yes.
Take your time, Professor. Don't rush, no problem. Professor, I can share your screen from here if you want. I can share your PowerPoint from here.
That will be kind.
Can you see them if I share them from here?
Yes, I can.
And then if you don't maybe just to make it easier for people, maybe we can you see your slides?
Yes, sir.
If you see them, you can start again very quickly. Just go from the start to bring people to where you stopped. You can start if you want, Professor.
That is operating. Sir, hello.
Yes.
Sir, good afternoon. Sir, sir is in the 9th slide, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that's fine. What I'm saying, I remember his slide. This one, I remember. This one.
Yeah.
It is the 3 planet goals.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. This one. So we have the planet goals, and these planet goals, they relate to climate action, then life below water and life on land. And then finally, we have the 16th and 17th, goal. And most important is foster peaceful, just and inclusive societies. In India, we have built up relationships, and we find that all these goals are closely interconnected. And keeping that in mind, Government of India is in touch with all the state governments and also the districts. And at the district level, at the provincial level, and at the federal level, these goals have been integrated. This has been done by mapping the requirements, asking the nodal ministries to implement them. Then we have a body known as Niti Aayog, and that Niti Aayog has been given the task of implementing and monitoring the progress on the front of SDGs. And this all is discussed from time to time in every session in the parliament and also in the state legislatures of the 29 states of India. And what has happened is, what we find is that we have been progressing on these goals, but we have to go a very long way. And the average performance points out that we have been able to reach somewhere between 55 to 60%. 55 to 60%. But there are some states within the country which have done admirably well. They are not very big states like Himachal Pradesh, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. They have done very well. But these very big states like UP, Bihar, these states, they are lagging behind. Union territories are also doing extremely well. Overall performance of India can be seen in this map, and we find that there are some states like southern states and like the states which are in the northeast. They have done extremely well. Then there are states you find in the yellow. You find, I think, these are the states which are the middling states, and then there are states in the red which have to go a very long way. So our areas of concern are many. Zero hunger, I think, is the first thing. We have been able to provide food to about 100 crore people, I think 1 billion people. But despite that, the question is not of satisfying the hunger, but can we provide quality food to people? That's a very big issue. Good health and well-being is another issue, though we have very successfully combated with COVID. But still, I think we have to go a very long way in ensuring that people in our country, they have good health at the level when they are just coming up as young people. Then people know who are the working, who make the working population, and also those people who are not now who are out of education. Equality has to go a very long way in the field of corporate sector. Sustainable cities and communities are coming up in India, but there also we have to do much. Our climate action is good. We have been doing very well on that, but then where we have industry located, those states and those locations, they suffer, I think, very badly. Now we can take the case of Delhi itself. Delhi is now having a very bad situation. The climate barometer has gone above 400 there, and also I think our nearby countries have also been suffering from that. funding is very, very important. We thought that SDG implementation will give a huge funding by developed countries, but we see that South and North, they are going poles apart. The kind of promises with northern countries or the North made to the southern countries has not been fulfilled the way I think it should have been done. And very paltry sum has been contributed by countries from North to help South, I think, in coming up and bracing up, I think, with these goals. Then ESG engagement is another very, very important thing. Feeling of oneness, I think, this is again a cause of concern. India is a huge country. We have 1.4 billion people. We have different languages. We have different castes. We have different kind of food habits. We are coming closer. I think it will take some more time for India to become a real, one country in the true sense of the term. So India's emergence and sustenance as a leading economic power depends on meeting some of the more basic health and social determinants of health-related SDGs immediately and equitably. In all, I think what I can say is that India is very concerned about the implementation of SDGs. The position is being monitored, on month-to-month basis at all the levels. People are being trained on that. Corrective measures are being taken, but still we have to go a long way. We have achieved, I think, if we go by achievements, our achievements are about 50 to 55% of the targets that we had set up. So we have to speed up, I think, to do more work on that. But this can happen, I think, very quickly if northern part of the world, it helps, I think, the southern part of the world, more specifically India being a big country and not being that resourceful as the Western world and the northern world is. With that kind of finance coming to India, India can do a lot. I'll be very happy to answer questions if there are any.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor. And we will take one question. I think we only got one time, maybe for one question, because we don't have much for the time for the question, but let's get people, if there's one question, we just need to try to squeeze one question. Any question? Either in the Zoom, so let me see the chat. This is for Jimmy. Any question about India? Any question to India? I'm just trying to look quickly. Professor, the question, I think, okay, let me just, I think you entered through another email. Now, Professor, India is of course, you said 1.5, is a huge, is a continent actually. Now, what do you see? This is a question being asked actually, because you are from the Enterprise, Institute of Enterprise and Corporate Governance and so on. Yeah, if you close it. Now, if you just maybe, I think you have 2 accounts now open, Professor. If you can, Professor, if you can just give a short, very quick and short comment on the meeting in Russia last 2 weeks, I think, or last week, 10 days, where India, China, Russia, Emirates, Egypt, and many. Can you hear me okay, Professor? Professor Mishra, can you hear me? Okay, let's make you co-host on the other account as well. You can unmute, Professor.
Yeah.
Now, the question I ask you, since this is your expertise, you have a lot of expertise on corporate governance, on enterprise, and so on and so forth. Would you expect this, assuming the BRICS, China, India, all these countries which met in Russia last week or 10 days, what do you expect the future? Do you expect sooner or later we will have some influence by this? They call them 38%, or let's call them 40%, of the global money circulating among these countries, what do you expect in terms of enterprise, in terms of startups? Do you expect this will materialize? How quick it will materialize? Do you expect to have any opposition from the United States in terms of transaction to be conducted in US dollar? Well, what is your expectation?
My expectation is that BRICS will work very, very hard.
Yes.
And I'm sure that BRICS countries, they're coming together will help in the implementation of SDG goals with greater speed. And BRICS countries are determined, I think, to work on the SDG front. And with anybody coming from the US, whether it is Mr. Trump or it is, Kamala Harris, I'm sure that they will need a peaceful world. They will need a world where jobs can be there. They will need a world where we don't have poverty, we don't have hunger. Because you remember, Professor Ahmed, that one of the Nobel laureates told that poverty anywhere is a danger to prosperity everywhere. So if any country is not doing well, that is danger to countries which are advanced.
Yeah.
And it's high time that countries which have done very well, they should come together and help the countries, which have to come up. They should help them in all the way. And therefore, I think this intergenerational inequities must be overcome. And these inequities can overcome only when the global financial structure undergoes a big change and there is a flow of trade, there is a flow of money, there is a flow of education, there is a flow of technical assistance to countries, I think, in the South. Because countries in the South have made a very great sacrifice, I think. If you go by what they have done, most of the pollution and the CO2 has been created by countries which are advanced countries. And the countries which are in the South, they have to suffer. Now, this is high time that countries in the South, they are at least compensated partly for what has been done by countries in North. So countries in North, I think, for their own prosperity, happiness, and for their own safety, they will do very well, I think, to work together with countries in South.
Thank you very much, Professor Mr. Thank you. And we sorry about the technical issue you had. We will fix it. I'm sure we have fantastic people who are capable to connect the two parts together. Thank you very much for your time and for your assistant, I think, or your daughter there. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Now we're going to move from India. We come to the UK. Thank you very much. Now we're supposed to stop in Kuwait for Dr. Ammar Hamadan from the United Nations Development Program. But last night he called us to say he had an emergency. He called us from the airport, actually, traveling to another Arab countries to meet a minister there. It was an emergency meeting. So, but we will have him either later or in the next time. So we're going to travel now to our destination, which is, sorry, we will go back to Kuwait again. I'm sorry, apologies. We're going to the United Kingdom. We're going to Mohammed Al-Bashir. He's going to talk to us about a really important topic, quantification of carbon emissions in healthcare in England using a case study of 2 National Health Services hospitals. This is really important to talk about the amount or the carbon emission by NHS hospitals, big NHS trust. Let me introduce Mohammed. I think you already have the access to the co-host. Mohammed completed his BA with honor degrees in accounting and finance from Middlesex University with first class. Excellent. He already completed his master's degree at the University of Bath. He achieved the first class degree in accounting and finance, demonstrating exceptional academic performance and a strong foundation in financial principles and practice. He conducted significant consultancy project focused on hospice care in Bath, which is in the area of Bath, with the goal being to investigate and consult with the hospice care team to discuss ways the hospice care can be more sustainable and to present the findings with evidence to justify change. His future aspirations are to uncover the intricacies, maybe you can, intricacies of healthcare and discover ways healthcare facilities can be sustainable and address environmental goals without compromising patient care. Very nice ending. So be sustainable without addressing environmental goals without compromising patient care. So Mohammed, if the floor is yours, and I think you can share because you are co-host, right?
No, Professor Allam.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and good afternoon to all of everyone. So I'll just start from the beginning. Yeah. So hi everyone. My name is Mohammed Al-Bashir. It's nice to meet you all. Good afternoon and good evening. And yeah, as Professor Allam said, my study, which was on my dissertation, is about quantifying carbon emissions in 2 hospitals. Right. So with the healthcare industry, a bit of background on it is that, first of all, the healthcare sector makes around 4 to 5% of the world's global greenhouse emissions, which is really large when compared to be the same size as the 5th largest country if we're just looking at emissions alone. And in terms of the scopes, as they're categorized from 1, 2, and 3, scope 3 makes a majority of those scopes, contributing to like 71%, which really shows just how large it is. Now, with carbon, when it comes to greenhouse gas emissions, they're categorized into 3 scopes. So that's 1, 2, and 3. 1 are very direct emissions, so gas and oil used for heating facilities, anesthetic gas, and even NHS facilities and their own fleet. Those are scope 1, the direct emissions. Now, indirect emissions are ones like electricity. So those are actually quite significant. And finally, what makes scope 3 so large is just how much there is to consider. So for example, the staff and supply, travel, procurement, waste disposal, medical devices, food and catering, business services, all these are the reason why scope 3 is so large, especially in healthcare. So why is healthcare kind of important? Well, the thing with carbon emissions is that it eventually causes climate change, which we're all familiar with. Now, something that hasn't been discussed is how climate change actually affects human health. So, for example, it can worsen asthma. So, in people who have asthma, it can cause exacerbate the issues of asthma. It can actually increase vector diseases like malaria, so things like mosquitoes. It can cause death because of extreme heat, can affect food patterns, water quality, and lots of things. And something that actually happened recently is, as you can see, a child's death was actually first ruled in the UK as air pollution because of that poor girl. So that girl died because of air pollution, which just shows how dangerous it is. Now, when it comes to how is this relevant? So obviously this seems like a very significant topic, but where's the relevance? Well, when we look at the SDGs, specifically 3 and 13, we can look at their targets. So for SDG 3's targets, they're to reduce epidemics and tropical diseases like malaria, which is why if healthcare addresses these concerns, they can actually reduce cases like malaria, which actually in turn reduces the workload. So more people don't come in to the hospital with issues like malaria or dengue, and even things from like water and soil pollution. So that's one goal what's one of the targets for SDG 3. But for 13, it's to integrate climate change measures into policies and strategies. And with healthcare, there's not much done on it. In terms of the private sector, we as a society have put so much pressure on the automobile industry, aviation, chemical for them to be more sustainable. And they have done that. But when it comes to health, there just isn't a lot done, as I found in my literature review. Now, when I did my dissertation, I looked at 2 hospitals, which is RUH, which is Royal United Hospital, and Musgrove Park. And to do that, I looked at a database called ERIC, which stands for the Estates Return Information Collection Dataset. And on that dataset, they had a specific category for each operation. So for electricity, it was kilowatts, and for gas, it was meters in terms of capacity. And from there, I used the UK emission factor dataset to multiply it by the designated operation. So if there was an emission factor for electricity, I would multiply it by the one given, and that would actually get you the CO2 emission. And from there, the emissions were summed up to get the total carbon footprint. Here's an example of Eric and what it looks like. Now, here's a bit of information for both hospitals. So both RUH and MPH are very similar. Both have an ED and both operate for 24/7. However, RUH actually requires more electrical demand, has more patients, and has more staff with more larger parking space, which just shows that, which is one of the things I hypothesize, is that the number of patients might have a significant factor to their emissions. Which, as you can see from the results, this is the total carbon footprint. So Royal United Hospital had one of the largest. Musgrave Park, not as compared to the two of them, Musgrave Park was the least. However, when I did my literature review, I found two hospitals who also conducted their literature review. And from there, I actually found that both these hospitals, despite the fact they were significantly larger in terms of size and even patients, actually had less emissions, which was attributed to the fact that these hospitals had taken measures to reduce their carbon emissions. And here is a breakdown of the activities. So it's shown that waste disposal was one of the largest emitting operations, followed by gas, electricity, and staff travel. For Musgrave Park, staff travel wasn't collected due to there being limited data and just it not being very readily available. But it shows that waste was surprisingly one of the most emitting factors in both hospitals. And as we can see, the breakdown of that waste, I found out that offensive waste, that being waste disposed from PPEs or protective equipment, catheters, bandages, those in landfill were actually the most emitting, followed by food waste from landfill, confidential waste, which is involved patient confidentiality, papers and documents, consent forms, followed by all of these other factors. So it showed that offensive waste is significant and should be targeted. Now, what have been done? So what has been done currently in the healthcare sector? So currently, now hospitals are trying to be more sustainable. They started changing the anesthetic gas being used. So they removed desflurane, which actually was an anesthetic gas, but because it had a high global warming potential, it was removed. And now we're using solar panels, and now there are new methods of sanitizing medical waste, like gasification and pyrolysis, which means we're reducing medical waste. It's good. Now, moving forward, what does this mean? Well, moving forward, there needs to be change for hospitals. At this moment, hospitals are trying to be sustainable, but there needs to be this, they need to grow out of this mindset of we only care about our patients and not everyone else. Because this mindset really doesn't help healthcare in any of itself. In fact, it actually excuses this behavior of not addressing the environment, because in turn, they're also creating the problem. If more people are suffering from malaria, it actually means more patients. So that means healthcare needs to be more accountable. There needs to be a push forward of the NHS 2040 goals. And there could even be a change to the data set. So when I conducted my dissertation, I found Eric to be very useful in quantifying the carbon emissions, but there were some missing issues. So, for example, Eric is a data set only for estates and facilities. It's not an environmental or sustainable data set, which makes it kind of detrimental because it doesn't consider other crucial factors like anesthetic gas, supplier travel, staff travel, which is important because that's what makes a majority of our scope 3 emissions. Other factors like policies can be used, and even the circular economy. So instead of just creating items and just disposing of them, we find unique ways to reuse them, which is why methods of sanitization like gasification are really useful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, thank you very much, Mohammed. Let me just make sure we're back on track. Thank you very much. Wonderful to see this issues is being considered quite seriously, particularly within the last 3 to 5 years. There's a growing in research on this area. We can have one question, because I know there's a lot of doctors here I can see from. Any question from the floor? We're giving you a question. I mean, we normally move quickly, but any question? We're happy to take one question. But I can just see a lot of doctors here. I mean, I'm Sudanese, I work in the area of digital transformation. Okay, any question? You can just click on that hand thing, and then we can go back. Because this issue we discussed before, I had a student before, I remember. We discussed, okay, we have here, let's give it to, Professor Joseph Natai from Uganda. Very nice to see you, Professor. Let me make you, okay. Can you unmute, Professor?
Thank you very much. Are you hearing me, Professor?
Yes, we hear you, but we can't see you. If you can see you, it would be fantastic. People this can see you.
Now you can see me.
No. Oh, yes, we can see you. Fantastic to see you.
Okay.
Let me introduce you,
you,
Professor, because you are one of the key people who have done work on energy, top man really in Africa. And we can also, though we will have a proper announcement for him, but he's going to lead the SDG universities in Africa, top professor from Africa, from University of Makerere, head of Center for Energy. So Mohammed, you got a top man on energy, he's going to talk to you. Okay, Professor, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Professor. And Mohammed, thank you very much for your presentation. I liked it right from the beginning. And I picked keen interest when you said that you're actually covering hospitals. And I think you chose 2 hospitals out of the many hospitals that exist. And I was wondering why you chose these 2 only. Why didn't you increase the number so that we get a sort of a representative position on the carbon emissions within the health sector? What guided you to choose these 2? Ahmed, that's what I wanted to ask. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you. Mohammed, why did you choose these 2 hospitals?
Thank you, Professor Joseph, for that really good, interesting question. So when I was conducting my dissertation and I looked at ERIC, which is housed all of the hospitals in the UK, the first thing I had to pick was the location, which I decided to choose Bath because there was only 2 general acute hospitals there. So that was being Royal United Hospital and Musgrove Park. In the beginning, I did consider other places like London or Oxford or Cambridge. But I think just to keep it very consistent and only one specific location to be more useful rather than it to be in different locations.
Okay, thank you very much, Mohammed. Thank you very much. Mohammed is currently involved as an intern with Queen Mary University. He's with us in the office in London. He's doing fantastic work on SDG tracker for countries, how they achieve the SDGs. So Mohammed, thank you very much, and I wish you all the best. Now, we're going to travel a short distance from Queen Mary University in London to University College London. And the second speaker, I think she's ready. Hana Al-Hashmi, are you ready? Yes, you are ready. Thank you. Well professional. This is a good thing. When you deal with top professional like this, they make your life so easy. Now, she's going to talk to us about really one of the important topics. Even yesterday in a meeting with Sharga University, we were discussing your topic, by the way, Hana, about women leadership and continuous professional development. Really top topic. And Hana is from University College London, and the person who introduced her, she said the same word. She said, this is, Allam, you're doing a lot of work on women leadership. We have fantastic women leader here at University College London. And don't forget, University College London is one of the top universities in the world, no question. And Professor Suhaira Nil, she has done a lot of work. She's one of the top world in talking to us about women leadership. Fantastic talk in Geneva in July. I really, every time I have an opportunity, I will ask people or encourage them to go and listen. No women, no SDGs. But today we're going to listen to fantastic topic about women leadership and continuous professional development from Hana Al-Hashmi. And who is Hana? Let me introduce, it's a long bio, to be honest, well-diverse bio, the same like Viola before. Hannah has worked at University College London for over 10 years and is the laboratory manager at the EGA Institute for Women Health. Hannah is responsible for ensuring that the workplace is compliant with current health and safety regulations, designing and reviewing safety policies, as well as consulting with stakeholders as necessary. She has managed the Epilepsy Society Brain Bank at the Institute of Neurology at UCL. The tissue bank is the first of its kind in the United Kingdom and is dedicated to the study of epilepsy by providing brain tissue samples of the brain for a wide range of epilepsy research projects. Very strong biography, but just I will jump to one last thing. As a senior staff member from the BME, which is Black and Minority Ethnic Background, tackling unconscious biases that can occur in the workplace has become a focus of her. She aspires to inspire, excellent title, aspire to inspire future generations and be the standard to the emerging generations. And I take this final opportunity. We have the International Conference for Women. We celebrate every year on the 8th of March. And we also, this is the second year, there is a competition. I think the deadline is in this month for the most influential women. Please go to the website and nominate the women you think she deserves to be called next March the most influential or sustainability most influential women. Hannah, the floor is yours. I will make sure you can now share your slide. Pleasure to see you.
Thank you for that great introduction, and hello everyone. It's great to be here today to discuss my topic of women in leadership. I will just share my screen now. Can you see my talk?
Yes, go ahead, yes.
Okay, brilliant. And thank you again for the great introduction. Again, my name is Hannah. I am the laboratory manager at the Institute for Women's Health, as well as the Institute for Neurology at University College London. My talk today will focus on my early life, my career journey.
Hannah, sorry to interrupt you. Can you click on the big screen, the show one, yeah, maybe?
Can you
they look fantastic slide. It will be nice to see them. We see them, but can you click on the, you know, the screen one, the big show, to show it in a big...
Oh, sorry. Can you see it now?
Perfect, because they look very nice. And if you can hide this, stop share, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, sorry, yeah.
Because you did a lot of work making this nice slide. It's better to enjoy them. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, so as I said, I'll just go through a background of my career, the achievements, as well as some challenges, developing in a leadership role, as well as implementing sustainability in the workplace. So just quickly, just a bit about myself. I come from a North African Moroccan Arab background. My parents were both born in Morocco. They immigrated to England over nearly 40 years ago now. I was born in a city just outside of Sheffield. I graduated in 2009 with a degree in biomedical sciences. I took a short career break, had a child, then moved it down to the City of Lights in London. And in 2014, I began my career at University College London at the Institute of Child's Health. I had another quick break, having another child, and then after that returned to take up a secondment position in laboratory management. During that time, I also took up the role at the Institute of Neurology as a research assistant. Fast forward to 2020, just before the pandemic, I took on my role now as laboratory manager at the Institute of Women's Health, as well as becoming the brain bank manager at the Institute of Neurology. So that was kind of a promotion for me. Now, I'd just like to highlight a few of my achievements as a laboratory manager, which has been great for me because it's made me be able to capitalize on my role and open quite a few doors, especially in terms of developing the the laboratory framework there, because when I took over the role, there was a bit of a vacuum in terms of management, health and safety, as well as the area needed to be developed, especially because of the cutting edge research that was being produced there. It did not reflect in the facilities. So I did spearhead quite a few projects, which was to acquire some funding, which totaled up to around £60,000 for some new ultra low temperature storage, specifically -80. And that was great because it did help in terms of our sustainability. We did have a number of old -80 freezers. We were able to remove quite a few and install some new, more energy efficient and also more generally efficient in terms of storage as well. I did develop and overhaul the health and safety management systems, which included making sure that we had a stringent induction process, ensuring that all new starters had completed their mandatory training, made sure that they were aware of all fire safety, as well as all risk assessments being in place for their work during their time at the Institute. I also project managed a very successful bid in terms of refurbishing a lot of the laboratories, a lot of the storage systems there. I was able to be to lead on the funding process as well as the proposals, which totaled up to £120,000, and that was a great improvement for the labs as well. The Institute also did not have a specific containment level 2 facility for work, specifically for working with human tissue, and there was unfortunately a bit of cross-contamination, but now we have a designated area, designated lab, which only focuses on human tissue work, and it is all within the containment level 2 framework. I also implemented and led on projects to develop a more sustainable environment, especially within the laboratories, as this is something that has become quite a big focus in terms of science and research in whole. And that brings me on to sustainability in the laboratory. So I'm sure many of you are aware, but laboratory-based research, of course, is essential for advancing society, but it is very energy and resource intensive. There is a lot of waste within the laboratories, very much so in terms of unused reagents, kits, chemicals being left just sat on benches, on shelves, which could easily be repurposed. And unfortunately, a lot of the time they just end up in landfill. It is estimated that laboratories are responsible for around 2% of global plastic waste and use 3 to 10 times more energy per meter square than a typical office. And that usually is down to high numbers of ultra low temperature storage, many fridge freezers that are in constant use within the laboratory. So that brings me on to what UCL is doing in terms of the sustainable world, and that is they've introduced something called LEAF. So what is LEAF? LEAF is the Laboratory Efficiency Assessment Framework, and that is has been developed by UCL and is in over 85 global institutions, and that is to help address the climate and ecological emergencies that happen in science. And it is a program mainly to drive sustainability within laboratories. The program compromises of 4 elements, which is the framework. So that is the tool used to implementing sustainability within the laboratory. So that may be help increasing the temperatures of ultra low freezers, maybe from -80 to -70, making sure that any benchtop equipment that can be switched off or powered down when not in use is implemented, and also changing the culture in general. So there is more reuse, more sharing throughout laboratories and different departments, and also really thinking about when purchasing new equipment, if it's okay to buy secondhand, to also borrow, to maybe set up subscription service where different laboratories may share equipment instead of ultimately going to purchase new equipment. I will also stress that currently now many funders within the UK, specifically the Wellcome Trust and CR UK, are making LEAF a prerequisite for when they grant funding. So each lab who is applying for funding must have achieved the bronze, at minimum the bronze award, for being able to have the funding for their work. So this program is very important, and as I mentioned, the 4 elements of this are the framework, online calculators, toolkits and resources. So there's a lot of resources on the LEAF web pages that can be accessed nationally and internationally, and improving user engagement, ensuring that everyone within lab groups are really working to a more sustainable environment, as I mentioned earlier. Tying into that, part of my work at the Epilepsy Society Brain and Tissue Bank, when I first started, which very much ties into sustainability, I suppose, is the restoration of a very large collection of brain tissue that had been acquired by Professor John Casellas. So the Casellas collection is a large brain collection of over 900 samples from patients with epilepsy that date back from 1950 to 1997. And this important archive was transferred to the Epilepsy Society Brain and Tissue Bank, which was a thorough overhaul of all of the samples, of all the clinical data, all of the original slides and the reports. Everything was all in paperwork. We had reviewed everything, uploaded it onto a database and restored the brain tissue. So the brain tissue was recut, re-embedded, sectioned, and modern immunohistochemistry was applied to these samples, and it brought it up to date and implemented the current WHO criteria for reclassification of pathology in epilepsy. So it was fantastic because these samples had been sat in archive for a number of years, and now we have a big bank of the collection that is available for many researchers nationally and internationally to implement in their current work. So with achievements do come some challenges, and personally for myself, I have come across and I have experienced some challenges in my work as a senior staff member, and I do want to highlight them because, of course, with challenges we have to overcome them. And for me personally, coming from a Black and ethnic minority background and a Muslim woman who's visibly Muslim, attending senior staff meetings and having to submit monthly reports to directors, to stakeholders, to heads of department, did sometimes leave me with the feeling of imposter syndrome, wondering whether I'm capable to be able to develop and to produce reports of a high standard and be able to, implement my strategies. So sometimes I was left feeling, is this position right for me? Do I have a seat at the table at such a high level? And also working within an environment where health and safety is very important, and sometimes witnessing rule breaking, having to place my assertiveness and being able to, sometimes so much having to tell people, no, this is wrong, you cannot do this, did also create a bit of a challenge for me. But hopefully I'm moving on the right track and tackling this. Again, becoming the lab manager, especially at the Institute of Women's Health, which did have limited management, and a lot of the time researchers were left to their own device, developing policies, creating strategies without having, so to speak, a mentor or someone within the same field. Sometimes did cause me to, wonder which type of direction should I take, especially in terms of assertiveness and developing policies. As well as being a mum to 3 children, having to strike the work-life balance was sometimes a challenge, especially because I have aspirations and want to develop and continue on my journey in leadership. So with challenges, you always have to overcome these challenges and continue to progress. And for me, these 4 main top points were the best way for me to move forward and to develop within my leadership roles. Number 1, for sure, is being myself. So as I feel as I am an ambassador for my cultural background, for my religion, for my being a female amongst very few within senior leadership roles, excuse me. I believe it's very important to embrace this and use this uniqueness as a strength, and also to develop my skills and excel. I think that being unique and being someone from a different background is a strength and not a weakness. Capable and competencies, being capable and being competent is something that's very important in terms of leadership, providing direction, coordinating action, developing strategies, and also transferring them depending on where you are is something that's very important as well. Always being proactive, so looking for opportunities to develop, whether that be taking up a secondment role to improve your skill set, which is something that I did very on in my career. So spotting them roles that can help you, leading on projects. That is a great way to enforce leadership as well, and to create a reputation for yourself, to show that you are capable, whether that be something small or even something large is a great way as well. Also taking up mentoring. So within UCL, we do have a mentorship program, whether that you yourself becoming a mentor for junior members, or you taking up advice from a mentor, whether that be your manager or someone else within different disciplinary teams. Training, of course, is something that's very important, continuing to learn and develop, taking advantage of training courses, any workshops, and also looking for opportunities to gain additional qualifications is something that's really important to develop professionally. And that brings me on to hone in on women in leadership. So unfortunately, I do feel throughout the board, whether it be in the education sector, women are still quite underrepresented in leadership roles, and Black and ethnic minority groups are significantly underrepresented at senior levels, and BAME women are even more smaller in this group. So just to give you a quick example, in the education sector, women account for 65% of secondary school teachers, but only 40% of them are head teachers. And just 6% of these are head teachers that are women from an ethnic minority background. And in the case at UCL, for the previously report that was submitted for the Equality, Inclusion and Diversity Data Report, it was on a much smaller scale as well. So only 6% of all senior level at UCL are BAME females, and slightly higher is 7% are BAME men. And just quickly, white male staff are 4 times more likely to be in a senior role than BAME female staff. UCL has recognised this, and they are, developing strategies and working towards employing more women in leadership roles and encouraging members of staff who are from Black and ethnic minority backgrounds to take up training and to develop their skills, and encouraging to go for them promotions and go for roles that are more senior. So leadership competencies, for me, I feel there are a number of categories where you can hone in and become more competent in leadership. As I mentioned earlier, empowering your leadership, being proud of your background, using that as a type of way to create an inclusive culture, and having that as an advantage, not a disadvantage, is great to improve in your leadership skills. Developing and learning from others, using mentoring, as I mentioned earlier, is a great way as well. Taking advice, taking up training courses. Also, navigating challenges is one that can help you to improve your leadership competencies by becoming more resilient, tackling unconscious biases and discrimination that still unfortunately does occur, but being able to, push back on that. Being an ambassador, taking time out to converse with fellow colleagues, that can break boundaries, can break them unconscious biases that people may have, especially as a woman from Black ethnic minority background in a leadership role. Amplifying your network, again, networking, speaking to colleagues, developing strategies, translating your skills through different areas in your work is another way to hone in on your leadership skills. So just a few key takeaways from my talk today. As I mentioned, it's you who defines your own success. You know, there is no high point or low point, or personally, I believe it's always a journey. At one point, it might be great for you to take a time out to develop your skills and not always push for the next promotion. At the same time, it's always important to take advantage of any opportunities that may occur, whether that be within your own team or externally. Oh, apologies. Continuing to develop, continuing with training, and being not afraid to break that glass ceiling, tackling any imposter syndrome. And also the very common one is the inferiority complex that sometimes women of Black and ethnic minority backgrounds may feel, sometimes not being, maybe pushing back or not putting their hand up for that, you know, idea that they had, or having a seat at the table feeling that they're not good enough and they won't be listened to. If you don't ask, you don't get, or if you don't, you know, make your point, you won't be heard. So it's very important to do that and power through, because you will also be a role model to other staff who may be watching, who may feel like they may not have the opportunity, but maybe they could. And again, it's also okay to say no. It might not be the time for you to go for that leadership role or for that senior position at that time, because you still need to develop on your skill set, or you need time, whether that be for family or work-life balance. But as I believe, I don't think it's necessary. There should be a pinpoint and a timeline for every point in your career. So thank you for listening, and I hope you found that interesting.
Indeed, Hannah, we found it very interesting. I can tell you that, and you can read the notes yourself. And a lot of not some of really strong. You can read them before we close at in another hour. But they are not all from women. One of the one I picked it quickly from Professor Jody, because that men also appreciate your presentation. But very, very. I don't want to talk about women and men here, but the first question. Many people are now, I know the percentage is very low, particularly for Black women. I remember the last presentation I attended, Black women are the worst group of employees in the UK suffer. So if you are a Black disabled women, the one who suffer most in discrimination, this is a research by, I can't remember, another university, the editor of the International Journal of Organization Behavior or something. So if you are a Black, or a lady from a Black and ethnic minority and a disabled, you are severely being discriminated against in work. But the question I want to ask you, in the research, now people are start asking, like when I had a meeting with the United Nations Development Program on a breakfast just last month, they said to me, we need to talk about after 2030. Okay, what happened after that? Technology. In the next 6 years, there's a lot of things going to happen. And what will happen next? In the case of women leadership, the talk is the following. Yes, the percentage, not forget about Black and ethnic minority now, but the percentage of women is still low. Yes, you gave the example of UCL and so on. But people will argue, Hannah, a lot of women are leading now. Kamala Harris was head-to-head with Trump last night, head-to-head with the biggest country in the world. In this country, last, I think 3 days or 2 days, it's really astonishing result. The conservative leader now, or the opposition leader, is a Black woman. And I just discovered she graduated from Sussex, where I was working there. I saw it from the chancellor of Sussex University, who is also a woman. He's been appointed 2 years ago as the first woman to be a chancellor or a vice chancellor of Sussex University after 60 years. Took Sussex University 60 years to appoint a woman. Forget about ethnic minority or Black. Now, yes, very slow achievement, but people can tell you, Oxford University, Cambridge, a lot of women leading universities now, across the world, by the way. Ghana, I just been from Uganda, the deputy vice chancellor is a woman. Women are leading, no question. In Saudi Arabia, all the studies I read, people that can correct me. One of the key reasons for the traffic jam on the street of Riyadh, the capital of Saudi Arabia, is because all women are now driving, almost all of them. Suddenly, change happened in Saudi Arabia. Women are driving cars at the airport. All the people you meet are women. So despite that, it took a long time, yes. But despite that, it does not give you reasons to be, not as a women leader, but generally to give us a reason all to feel comfortable, reasonably comfortable. Change is happening. Do you feel comfortable?
I do believe change is happening, maybe in certain sectors faster than others, but I still believe that there is a lot of unconscious bias and also the feeling of women, maybe they may have the talent set or the skill set, but they may not have that confidence to go for the senior roles. Generally speaking, it is still men that hold the senior roles. And it might not be because the women don't have the talent, but they may not have the confidence to go for them skills. And also, again, it still goes back to the age-old topic of work-life balances. I know it has improved tremendously, especially after COVID, but I still believe there is still some work to be done, and also tackling grassroots where from beginning, from even education choices, to make that it will allow a woman to see past maybe just her degree, but factoring in going for more higher roles further along down the line.
Okay, excellent. Now I will go to the last point you mentioned, and I will introduce you to this lady very soon. Yes, because that last point you said say no, and that's the question. And I'm pleased we have the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Kampala International. I met a lady just 2 weeks ago, and she said no. Yes, she said it in 3 top men from Africa. We were in a conference in Kampala International University. In the second day, I was walking, going to the toilet, I can't remember. 2 men from Africa, I can't remember, 2 professors, they stopped me. Oh, professor, can we take a selfie together? I said, fine. So we are posing to have a selfie. This lady, or this Dr. Claire, I have to say Dr. Claire, so when she sees this video, she knows I pronounce it correctly. She was walking past. Then one of the professors said to her, hi, young lady, can you take us a picture? She said to him, no, you either call me Claire or Dr. Claire. And I'm sure Professor Joseph Natai know her. She's from from Makerere University. She said, no, you either call me Claire or Dr. Claire, not young lady. And interestingly, it tends to be, and I then realized she's a lady who's, Dr. Claire is the one who submitted the paper to our, anyway, a long story. I will introduce you to her because she said, no, I'm not a young lady, I'm Dr. Claire or Claire. The question is, why, what is the reason now women are becoming so strong to put themselves forward, to say no, like you said? Is it education? Is it training? Like I can see one of the comments here. Why do you think, what happened? Is it because men are more supportive to women to say no, or what happened? Women are now saying no.
I believe because maybe previously, but personally, I think because many women may have said no in fear of not being penalized further along down their down the career path, not having the training or the awareness to assert themselves, because there's a lot of issue with assertiveness in terms of women, and that confidence as well. Maybe potentially say, if they say no, it might mean, well, that's no for everything or never again. Whereas saying no also, I believe, commands some confidence and some, being able to believe in what you are saying is correct, even if it is a no.
Excellent. We're going to show a video and then we will finish with you, Hannah, just 1 second, because I don't know if you know, Hannah, I don't know if Professor Suhair told you, when we went to Geneva, I didn't know until we met this fantastic Director General of the United Nations in Geneva. Imagine, the Director General of the United Nations. When I was reading her bio, so when I meet her, I can at least say hello in a nice way. Her Excellency, I learned she is the first woman Director General of the United Nations. And publicly, it's not hidden. I said to them, guys, we can't be advocating your policies, your SDGs, women equality. And I know it's a reality, But you, the United Nations, this is the first woman to take that chair. So you really need to explain something to us, because you want us to implement 17 sustainable development. One of them is women. And then suddenly I'm reading the bio, she's the first woman to be a director general. So yes, change still needs to, and this is, I think, now we're just going to show you quickly, all of you, and then we just conclude with Hannah, because this initiative or project, we really take it very seriously. Where is the share? I'm going to share with you. Where is share? I'm just sharing with you, and I would like to encourage you all to apply. Let me just open, where is it? Here, wait. Because we want, I think the closing date, Janet maybe can correct me. I think the closing date is the 22nd of this month. This is our competition for next year. I would like to encourage you all to apply. So stop share. We just make sure. I just want to stop it. Sorry. Now we just quickly close this. I encourage you all. I hope you can also encourage everyone to submit nomination for the 2025 Sustainability Most Influential Women. Is by WSD, but we do not at all be involved, completely independent. All we do, Janet and the team, they will just pass on the applications to and the bar is very high. In order to be shortlisted to go to the judge, you need to score 85. It's quite high, completely independent. And the people who are going to judge it, they all have a track record. I can't remember all of them, but just one, for example, top Professor Hanana Joy from Jordan, she's been given the King Award for scientific research. She's from California, top women in biotechnology in the Arab countries, for example. You come passing by London, you got Professor Suhair Neen, one of the top ladies or women leader as an academic. All of them are independent. I'm going to allow Professor Abdel Fattah Hazim from Morocco, although we don't have time, but Professor, we give you the privilege. You are one of the key people in the Middle East, and also because we're going to come to Morocco. So we give you a chance, Professor. Go ahead.
Thank you, dear Professor. I want to tell to all participants.
Can we see you, Professor? Oh, excellent. Thank you. Introduce yourself, Professor.
We are working now, but we inform you that we have between 6 to 11 July 2025, the International Forum of Sociology. It's the first event in the MENA, and we want to promote not only sociological practice, but also in whole social sciences and human sciences. And we know the development, it will be a good thing if we can mobilize these scientific topics. Then I invite all persons to interest of this to check in the website of ISA, International Association of Sociology, and you are all welcome. And also I am blessed in your activity from London. And I think that you do best, and WAST is a great organization helping to promote research and development, and also networking all human resources. And I am here if anyone can want something through, for example, working to Morocco or on MENA, and also in development, youth and women. We are here, and we do that we can do. Thank you.
Professor, thank you. I know you. My always word about Professor Fattah Zain, one of the top sociologists worldwide. But I want you to introduce yourself quickly. Who are you? Tell them, who are you?
I am a socio-anthropologist, and also I am interested in about youth and gender, and in connection with the human development. And I am also a member of MOS. MOS, it's a movement of anti-utilitarianism on social sciences. Why? Because we try to produce one thought and to have reflection on our society, to bring in many ideas to different actors, that's like political, official, civil, or private actors, and also foreign actors. And we want to be creative, because the MENA school or MENA practices are in diversities, and it's plural, and it's very interesting, many persons, and we must be a good player in this globalization. Then we work hard about this, and we try to do best.
Thank you very much, Professor. Well-established professor. And the second thing, we're going to Morocco, and we will see you in April. But also, most importantly, please, yes, send us the material. We will share it. All of you, just one last thing to finish and close by these women activities or project we're doing. We haven't yet sat down in London to discuss with Hanan, Professor Suhair, and others. But anyone interested, please get in touch with us, me or Janet, whoever it is, because we have very good packages on women leadership programs. And now, because Hana and Suhair, Professor Suhair, they are in London, we can deliver it face-to-face in Queen Mary University in the building, or we can do it online. So please, anyone interested, because if we get interest of at least 6, 7, 8, 10 people, then we can start organizing one. So please get in touch with us. So now we're going to move, last but not least, to two fantastic, great economists, fantastic researchers. I have to say they have contributed massively in the last, I don't know how many years. I don't want to make them looks, what is it, old, but they have done a lot of work with WSD. Fantastic two economists. I'm looking, I can see Dr. Allam. They're going to talk to us about a very important topic, but most importantly, this case study is from Yemen. They have helped, I think there is not much research going on because of war and many other factors to read about Yemen. They published a couple of papers on this, but they're going to do this one on the youth. Challenges facing youth empowerment. So we're moving from women empowerment to youth empowerment to finish the conference in entrepreneurship in the Republic of Yemen. We have Dr. Allam Bannaga and Dr. Muhammad Batweh. Both of them are strong two economists, well-established economists at the Arab Planning Institute in Kuwait. The Arab Planning Institute, by the way, is a main research hub under the Arab Council. It's based in Kuwait. So I'm going to give them justice, both of them. We have to read about their background, both of them. But in the meantime, I will find out who is going to present. So the first one is Professor, just let me read for you both of them. Not because they are co-author, they have to be also given justice. But I can tell you, I know both of them. Both of them, they have a tremendous experience in research and development. They have been for a long time with the Arab Planning Institute in Kuwait. They have published a lot of work, and they have tackled lots of important topics, not only about Yemen, but other Arab countries, including Sudan and others. And this joint work, hopefully we will get this article to be published. I just wanted to make sure who is going to present. Is it you, Professor Dr. Alamuddin? Dr. Alamuddin, is it you the one who will present to us, or Mohammed Batwe? Or both of you are sitting together?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I gave you, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, it's me. It's gonna present it. Yes.
Yes, doctor. I gave you you are a co-host, so you can start sharing. You can start sharing now.
Okay.
Very nice to see you, Dr. Alamuddin. Doctor, I think, can you tilt the screen? Or anyway, it's up. Now you can just make it bigger and start. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
This paper is prepared by me and Dr. Batwe about entrepreneurship and the challenges facing young women and men in achieving entrepreneurship and starting business and succeeding in doing their own business projects. Actually, we investigated a lot of challenges in facing young men and women, and we conducted a survey, and we get 565 participants, and there are a lot of results, and we tried to summarize these results in this presentation, and we are looking forward to publish our work in a journal. So we took all the proper research methods that can lead us to a proper results. So first, we are going to describe our sample of the young people who participated in the survey. And as I said, the key survey questions is about entrepreneurship and the challenges facing young men and women becoming entrepreneurs. Because as you know, entrepreneurship is for creating jobs, is for raising incomes, and is for fighting poverty, and is for reducing inequality in in countries like Yemen. So first, we give some a few overview about Yemen and the political and social circumstances of Yemen. That's going to be just 1.5 minutes. And then we describe our results regarding the young people, our youth empowerment. And then we go to the women empowerment. And then we present our results about the entrepreneurship success and what are the factors affecting entrepreneurship. And we also present our results regarding the regression analysis. And in regression analysis, we want to identify the key predictors of success of young people in entrepreneurship in Yemen. And then we give a conclusion in about half a minute. So generally, Yemen is a country with a population of 34 million people. And the dependence and the poverty level in Yemen is 48%. That is almost half of the Yemeni population is in poverty. So it is highly needed to have entrepreneurship and to have and to make these people start businesses, to create jobs, and to raise income. So entrepreneurship is one of the key mechanisms to get out of poverty, because we have got very high poverty rate, we have got very high inequality rate, which is 36.7%. So this is one of the justification of tackling this issue. The labor market indicators of Yemen, I mean these indicators we got from the ILO, indicate that there are a lot of discrepancies, and there is discrimination against the women and against young people. The unemployment rate generally in Yemen is about 17%. However, for female, it is 29 or 30%, about 30%, and compared to 16.5% for male. So I've got a very high level of unemployment among women. When we come to the category of the young people, we find that the unemployment rate is about 33%. I mean, thirds of the young people are unemployed. And the participation rate of women is very low, which is only 7.7% compared to the male or the woman, the men participation rate, which is 64.4%. Also, the general indicators of employment in Yemen from the data of the international organization show that there is a lot of discrimination against women and young people. We want to empower women and young people through entrepreneurship, through making them establishing companies and producing, and by so doing we are going to make them productive, and we are going to make them creating job opportunities for other people. So here the literacy rate for female is 64%, while for male is 92%. And the women participation in the parliament is almost nil. We asked in the survey, we asked questions about financial challenges, about institutional challenges, and here we focus on the government legislation and regulations empowering young people, and we ask about the political and social challenges, and we ask about education and training, and we ask about digital skills, and finally we ask about the most important challenge facing young people establishing companies and making their own businesses. So the demographic and the characteristic and the general characteristics of the participant. The total number of the participants is 565 respondents. And the young people for the age 18 to 24 years old, they represent 27% of the total participants. And the men represent about 50.8, and the women about 49%. And the 90% of the participants received either diploma or PhD degrees, and the rest of them, they have a PhD or master degree. So these are the key findings of the survey. 66 or 2/3 of the participants say that it is very difficult to get finance to expand or to start a business, and 88% of them they have not benefited from any financial support either from the private sector or from the public sector, and 81% of the participants say that the government legislation with respect to youth empowerment is either deficient or not sufficient, and about 90% of the participants say they are affected negatively by the political and security situation in Yemen, and 61% of them receive family support in their search for entrepreneurial success, and 62% of the participants describe social network supporting entrepreneurship are weak or unavailable. This means that there is not adequate social network supporting entrepreneurship. Also, 63% of the participants have not received specialized training in entrepreneurship, and 75% indicate that their digital skills are good to benefit from ICT revolution opportunities. And this is surprising. I mean, they regard themselves, they are digitally capable, and they have got enough digital skills to benefit from the fourth industrial revolution. Also, this is the key thing, 82% of the participants say that the most important challenge is the finance. It is not security, it is not social, it is not digital, it is financial. So these are the key challenges: lack of specialized training, difficulty of obtaining necessary finance to start or expand business, lack of supportive social network, political and security challenges, deficiency of government legislation and regulation. When we come to the specific categories of the young people, I mean, when we come to the youth for from 18 to 24 years, those people are less likely to own a private company compared to the other categories. Also, when we compare the unemployment rate, we find that 56.7% of the young people are unemployed, compared to 33 or 37% and 20 for the older categories. And 3/4 of the young participants, I mean 75%, regard financial challenges as the most important challenge facing youth empowerment in Yemen. and 88% of the participants indicate that political and security situation affect them negatively. And family support is higher for the young people, and unfortunately, family support is higher for for the young category more than the other categories. And the young participants are unlikely to receive specialized educational training with 63% of them. With regard to the young woman empowerment in Yemen, we find that the unemployment rate is higher for female than male. I mean, for female is almost 50%, and for male is 27.9%. And the lack of specialized training is higher for women. That's 71%, or like 72% compared to 55%. And the lack of financial is the same. Financial support is the same for the two categories. The problem of inadequacy of the legislation is also similar for the two categories, and the problem of the political situation. And we find that the female currently own a private project is higher for female than male. I mean, 43% of the female participants have business projects. However, 35.9% of the men have business projects. And this is because of the fact that the young men have more opportunities of jobs in the private sector and in the public sector compared to the women. So the women focus more on establishing their own businesses. Receiving family support is higher for women compared to men. And for the digital skills, they are about the same for both male and female. So the entrepreneurship success in Yemen. I mean, the indicator of entrepreneurship success in our research is establishing a company, is successful establishing a company. So we compare those challenges with those who have a company and or a project, and those who don't have a company. For those who don't have a company, 35% do not have not received specialized training, and 92% of them have never or have not benefited from government support or private support, and 48% of them regard financial challenges are the most important challenges facing entrepreneurial aspiration, and 78% of them regard government regulation as deficient or not sufficient, and 68% of them regard access to finance for startup is either difficult or very difficult, and 93% of them regard indicate that political and security situation in Yemen negatively affect them and affect their businesses, and 58% of them indicate that they receive family support, and only 41 of them regard social network are available, and 73% of them regard themselves as having adequate digital skills. Similar percentage are recorded for those who have a project. Also, we conduct regression analysis in order to identify the key predictors of ability to establish a company or to start or to have successful business project. So our dependent variable is participant currently having or owning a private business, and the predictors or the independent variables are digital skills, family support, political and security situation, economic, education level, government legislation, age of participant, financial support, entrepreneurship, education, and gender of participant. So we want to find out which of these variables can predict success in having or establishing a company. The regression results showed that not all these variables are good predictors. The key variables which are good predictors are the age of the participant. I mean, the older the participant, the more likely is going to get to be successful in business. Also, age 2, it means age category 2, which is from 24 to 20 to 35. For this category, it is very highly likely to have a business, to have a project. I mean, it is twice higher in this category than the other age category. Also, the gender 1, gender 0, this is female. Gender 1 is male. Also is highly significant. And financial support. Financial support 1. I mean, those who answer yes for financial support. This is highly associated with having business. It is like 3 times. I mean, 3 times compared to the those who don't have financial support. Also, government legislation is highly significant. Political and security situation and family support. These are the key predictors for having successful business for young people in Yemen. So the other variables, which are, for example, education level and social, and these things are not in regression. They are not important for. They are not good predictors for having successful business. So the main challenges facing young people or youth in the field of entrepreneurship in Yemen, according to the survey results, are the following: difficulty in obtaining necessary finance to start or expand business, political and security challenges, deficiency of government legislation, lack of supportive social network, and lack of specialized training. These are the key challenges facing the young Yemeni people in establishing good or successful business. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Dr. Allam, and also Dr. Batwi. Thank you very much. Wonderful to listen to you. Doctor, in one of your first slide or table, I may be wrong, but did you say that there is 0 women in the parliament?
Yeah, this is I got this from the international databases.
Yeah, but I mean, it is 0. There is no women in the parliament of Yemen.
I mean, it's like almost 0. Yeah, okay. It is not yeah, clear cut 0, but it is almost 0.
Okay, thank you
This is
very
what
much.
I got from the, I think the Sustainable Development databases.
No, it's fine. It's just alarming picture. I mean, I know every country got special circumstances and so on, which is fine. But thank you very much. Any question before we conclude? Any question to both fantastic authors, Dr. Allam and Dr. Muhammad Batwi, about challenges for youth entrepreneurship in Yemen? Any question? You can prepare your question if you have for 2 minutes, or okay, we have just 1 second here. I'm going to share with you very quickly and to invite you all to our conference in April 2025. I think we have a video. Let me see if it is there. I will share it with you. Yes, I think we have it here. Yeah. Now, let me stop it here. 1 second, and then we can all watch it together to finish this conference with our next 23rd international conference. It will take place in Morocco. Now, thank you very much. I think I just wanted to stop this one. Just to finish up. Any question for the speakers, Dr. Allam and Dr. Batwi? If you have a question, please read it. I would like you to join me in thanking all our speakers from the early morning, or actually it was late night in Australia, Professor Aziz from Australia, and then we went to Japan to Dr. Chimi, and then we went to America to Viola in Washington, and then we went to India to Professor Mishra, and then we went to UK, Muhammad al-Bashir, and then we went to Hana al-Hashmi, both of them from London, and then we end up in Kuwait. This fantastic talk about youth entrepreneurship in Yemen. I would like you to kindly join me by showing, I think you can click that down, showing our appreciation to these people from all over the world for their fantastic presentation. I think we are very grateful to all of you, and we will finish here. I think it's 8 minutes past 3. We will meet again. Okay, very quick. Isam, where is it? Someone wanted to ask a question or no? So we will see you again in a quarter. I don't know when the next one, I don't know, but the next one I know from discussion, it's about ranking. Is it a myth or a reality? Ranking of universities is becoming a big issue now. We will leave you now. Thank you very much. We wish you all the best. If it is evening, good evening to those who are in the evening. If it is good morning to those who just wake up and joining us. Thank you to all those who joined from everywhere, from Sudan, from Uganda, from India, from America, from here. And we will finish. We will get these videos up. We will be uploaded, and they will be in our library. And for Morocco, before I go, I would like to encourage you all. Morocco, the period we're going to Morocco is very attractive time, which is the Easter break in Europe. So we've been told it's a very attractive time of the month. So please, if you're considering going to Morocco, and this year we're going to make it much more enabling environment for people to take their families. So consider that as well. So try to book your flight as early as possible, particularly in Europe, like in London here or in the UK. It's really important you do now because you can get a direct flight. Otherwise, you have to go to France or Italy, and then you go back to Morocco. I really encourage anyone from UK or Europe to quickly book your flight because it will be short, 3 hours or 4 hours. The second thing, the deadline for call for papers is already there. We received a lot of interest on this conference, and there will be 2 workshops, pre and post conference workshop. I encourage you all to consider it not just as a conference, but as a holiday, because it will fall into the Easter break, 2 weeks of the Easter break. We will leave you now. All the best. See you in our next conference or workshop, whatever it is. All the best. Thank you very much for your time. All the best. We'll stop the recording now. Bye-bye.